Welcome to the Rime Buddhist Center's Dharma Talk podcast, Achieving Peace Through Compassion. This podcast is a recording of the Dharma Talks given during our Sunday service. This talk was given by Lama Matthew Palden Gocha.
Today's Dharma Talk is Bridging the Divide with Kindness and Compassion. In ordinary life, we spend a great deal of energy constructing divisions between ourselves and others, establishing our own separate identity and the boundaries that protect it. And this is natural. It's human. It gives us a sense of security. But those same boundaries can also become walls that harden us into an us versus them. Walls that cut us off from one another, creating suspicion, resentment, even hostility. In our society today, especially here in the United States, we see this everywhere. Families are divided, communities polarized, public life often feels marked by anger and distrust. So how do we begin to heal this? How do we build bridges when the tide of division feels so strong? And the Buddha's answer points us towards what's called the four immeasurables: loving kindness, compassion, empathetic joy, and equanimity. They're called immeasurable because they are boundless in scope. There's no limit to how far they can extend. No person is beyond their reach. No end to the healing that they can bring to a fractured world. They're also called the Brahma Viharas, the divine abodes, because when we live in them, we dwell in a state of profound dignity, peace, and connectedness. Thanissaro Bhikkhu writes, the Brahma Viharas, or sublime attitudes, are the Buddha's primary heart teachings, the ones that connect most directly with our desire for true happiness. They are unlimited goodwill, unlimited compassion, unlimited empathetic joy, and unlimited equanimity. These qualities take the ordinary emotions that we already know and then elevate them. They train the heart to expand beyond narrow self-concern and embrace the whole of humanity. Not lofty ideals, but practical tools for healing division. Again, what is meant by immeasurable? And normally we extend love only to those we like, compassion only to those who look like us, joy only to those we agree with, or equanimity only when things go our way. But the Dharma challenges us to extend these without measure across boundaries, across divisions, even across enemy lines. The scriptures remind us every being at some point in the vastness of time has been close to us, a parent, a sibling, or a friend. And when we see through the illusion of separation, we begin to treat all beings as kin. And the walls of us and them begin to soften. Gampopa says, the teachings on the practices of loving kindness and compassion are the remedy to being attached to the pleasure of peace. And so what does attached to the pleasure of peace mean? It is the desire to achieve nirvana only for oneself, without an altruistic mind for sentient beings. And because of it, one does not benefit others. This is called the lesser vehicle, end quote. And so today I want to focus on these first two of the four immeasurables: loving kindness and compassion. Loving kindness is the heartfelt wish that all beings experience true happiness. It's not a sentimental attachment. It's not a selective affection. It's an open, boundless friendliness, radiating outwards without preference or condition. The Buddhist tradition compares it to the love a mother feels for her only child: instinctive, protective, and unwavering. And when we cultivate loving kindness, we expand that care beyond our own circle until it embraces everyone: friends, strangers, and even those that we find difficult. This is radical in its simplicity. In a society like ours, where politics, race, class, and culture so easily turn neighbors into strangers, loving kindness is a direct way of dissolving the illusion of us versus them. Imagine extending loving kindness to a family member who disagrees with your politics, to the driver who cuts you off on the highway, to those who anger frightens or offends us. Each small act of extending kindness softens the hard edges of division. And the Buddha taught, hatred does not cease by hatred, but only by love. This is the eternal rule. Loving kindness doesn't mean we must agree with harmful views. It doesn't mean condoning injustice, but it does mean refusing to let our hearts be poisoned by hatred. I want to share a story that I read recently. In Brazil, a man named Raimundo Arruda Sobrinho, a homeless poet, lived on the streets for decades. Every day he wrote poems, yet no one ever read them. And one day a young woman stopped and she spoke with him with kindness. She asked to read his writing, and she began posting his poems online. And soon people from around the world were following him. Even his long-lost family found him, and he was eventually able to return home. What stands out in this story is that it began with one simple act of loving kindness, seeing someone as human. We translate this to our own context. How often do we walk past unhoused neighbors without acknowledgement? Loving kindness can be simple as making eye contact, as simple as offering a greeting, as simple as silently wishing them well. It doesn't erase the larger structural issues of poverty, but it does something profound. It breaks the walls of invisibility, and it restores human dignity. And in a divided society like ours, it means choosing to see the humanity in people who are often unseen. It may not change the whole world in that instant, but for the person receiving it, it changes their world. As Gampopa says, when through the power of loving kindness, tears come from the eyes and the hairs of the body stand up, that is called great loving kindness. So imagine extending even a fraction of that love across our divides. How might our conversations, our neighborhoods, or our politics change? And if loving kindness is the wish that beings be happy, compassion is the wish that they be free from suffering. Compassion is not pity. It's not superiority. It's recognition. Your suffering is my suffering. Your tears are my tears. It's the natural trembling of the heart when it refuses to turn away. An example of this are the parents in Newtown, Connecticut, who lost children in the Sandy Hook shooting. They turned their grief into activism, not only for their own children, but for all children. Or after 9/11, when human chains formed to help strangers escape the towers. No one asked about religion, nationality, or politics. Compassion simply saw suffering and responded. On a more everyday level, compassion is what allows us to look at someone shouting in anger and see not just their words, but the fear or despair that drives them. The teachings describe compassion as an inability to tolerate the fact that beings suffer. It is the raw, courageous willingness to keep our hearts open in the presence of pain. Whether it's the pain of a refugee, whether it's the pain of an immigrant, a grieving parent, an unhoused neighbor, or even the suffering hidden beneath the anger of someone whose views oppose ours. In our divided society, compassion calls us to look deeper. When we see someone shouting in anger, we can recognize the fear and insecurity beneath their rage. When we encounter cruelty, we can see it as the product of confusion and unhealed wounds. When we meet someone lost in addiction, violence, or despair, we can remember that they too once longed simply to be loved and safe. Compassion does not make us weak. On the contrary, it gives us strength to face the suffering without closing down. It empowers us to act, not out of vengeance, but out of care. As Gampopa reminds us, when one has fully purified self-cherishing, is fully released or cut from the chain of self-cherishing, when from the depths of the mind one desires all sentient beings to be free from suffering, then one has perfected the practice of compassion." End quote. Compassion becomes a bridge. It allows us to move towards those who might otherwise push away. It allows us to work for justice without hatred, to protect the vulnerable without vilifying the oppressor, to stand firmly for what is right, while still seeing humanity in those on the other side. Loving kindness and compassion are like two wings of the same bird. Loving kindness says, "May you be happy." Compassion says, "May you be free from suffering." Together, they carry us beyond division into the open sky of shared humanity. They invite us to look across the lines that divide our society, race, class, ideology, geography, and to remember, no matter our differences, we all long for happiness. No matter our differences, we all wish to be free from pain. And when we bring loving kindness and compassion together, they change the way we move in the world. Loving kindness wishes others happiness. Compassion feels their pain. Together, they remind us that beneath all our divisions, political ideologies, rich or poor, urban or rural, we share the same fragile, yearning humanity. Practicing them is not abstract. It's as simple as pausing before responding in anger, as offering kindness in a tense conversation, as courageous as extending care to those who seem most unlike us. And when we do this, we begin to see the real bridge is not built in our capitals, and it's not built on social media. It's built right here in the heart. In every moment, we choose love over hate, compassion over indifference. For many of us, these qualities arise only by chance. When life feels safe, when people agree with us, and when we are at ease. But the Buddha taught that these states can be cultivated, generated, strengthened through practice. And we begin small. May I be happy. May you be free from suffering. May all beings know peace. First for ourselves, then for our friends, then strangers, and eventually for those we dislike or fear. And in time, we recognize something profound. Everyone longs for happiness. Everyone longs to be free from suffering. And when our hearts are saturated with these immeasurables, division loses its grip, and we no longer see enemies, we see fellow travelers. Walking the same path of longing and struggle, these immeasurables are not only a path to enlightenment, they're a blueprint for healing our divided world. They teach us to build bridges where there are walls, to listen where there is shouting, to love where there is fear. And when we embody kindness and compassion, we step closer to a society that reflects our deepest truth, that we belong to one another. I want to end this talk with one of Raimundo's poems, Floribunda, and I've translated it from Portuguese into English. It is the head, considering that thought is its flower, blooms permanently from birth to death. May you have compassion, wisdom, gratefulness, and joy, and I hope that this talk has been helpful to you.
Thank you for listening to the Rime Buddhist Center's Dharma Talk podcast. Music was provided by Barefoot Bran Music. Please consider supporting the Rime Buddhist Center by making a donation at our website at www.rimecenter.org/donate.